Check this out. I watch a YouTube video that I find educational. I paste the link into this tool that I built. And 10 seconds later, I get 3 drafts for social media that I can post that are written in my tone of voice. Just like that. Click generate image. And 30 seconds later, I get an on-brand image. No copying transcripts, no rewriting, no forgetting my brand rules, and a ready-made image just like that. I'll show you how to build this app or an app like this, even if you're not a coder. So if you're tired of manually adapting content across different platforms, or even using AI to write it, or you're wondering how you can build AI tools like this that actually match your voice, then you're in the right place. Coming up next, the one mistake that makes AI tools feel off-brand, the 3-step pattern that powers almost every content automation tool, and how to get your tool to remember your rules without prompting it every time. So here's the thing, most of the time when you use AI to write, it writes it without sounding like you, right? It's totally generic, and then you just have to rewrite it yourself. So I needed something that understood how I write using stuff like British spelling and none of those long M dashes, and following a particular structure that I like for writing posts on LinkedIn and on Twitter and stuff like that. And I wanted it all to be in one place and all to be totally automated. So the only way that I could do that was to build it myself. And then once I understood the pattern, I realized anybody could do this for this kind of tool, not just this particular tool by itself. First, let me show you what we're building, and then I'll break it down into the 3 pieces that you need to replicate this for any kind of workflow. So in the video that I showed at the beginning, they were talking about Google Gemini versus Claude for creating presentations. So I found that really interesting, and I thought, okay, why not share this content and write it in my own way? So I pasted the video. I have the option here to tell it to focus on one particular part of the video if I want to. Then I click extract and write. It extracts the name of the video. It tells you the language, the duration, the transcript length, and the date that it was fetched. And then it writes a WhatsApp draft, a LinkedIn draft, and a draft for Twitter/X. I still call it Twitter. It gives me little hints about what it fixed. So for example, here it says it removed the M dashes. The M dashes are those long, annoying things. It wrote drafts in my tone of voice for each of those platforms. So all of them are formatted differently as well. Like for example, the tweet is super short. And then it tells you exactly the number of words underneath. And then it creates an image prompt automatically, which you can copy and use in any image generator if you don't want to use the OpenAI image generator. Or you can click generate image, and it uses the ChatGPT model for generating images. I even got it to give me an estimated cost. Now let's reverse engineer this so you can build something similar. So you can do this with any vibe coding tool like Lovable, Replit, Google AI Studio, or in my case, ChatGPT Codex. Don't be scared if you don't know how to code, because even if you don't want to look at the code, you don't have to. You just tell it what you want to do, and it goes and makes the program for you. And then you just kind of refine after that. But basically, almost every content automation tool follows this simple pattern: fetch, transform, and output. So breaking it into these 3 steps lets you swap pieces without rebuilding everything. The way that you can do this is through APIs, which are basically secret codes for one piece of software to talk to another and ask it to do specific tasks. In my case, I use 2 APIs for fetching and transforming. The first one was a YouTube transcript API for pulling out the captions. The second one was the OpenAI API, which is basically just getting ChatGPT to work in the background of your app and that rewrites everything in my voice. And then the final step was the output, which was the 3 messages and the image. So for the YouTube transcript API, I didn't even need to go and find it. I just told ChatGPT Codex to find a YouTube transcript API, and it found it and installed it. Done. For the ChatGPT or OpenAI API, you just go into platform.openai.com, go down to API keys, create a new secret key, name the key like test, go create secret key, and then you can just copy it and paste it into the vibe coding platform. So that's the skeleton. But here's the mistake that makes most AI outputs feel wrong. So this is what you might be used to. Just as an example, I wrote into Gemini, write a LinkedIn post about this topic, and then I pasted the transcript from that video from before. And it wrote this post: another week, another tidal wave of AI innovation, emoji, Google Gemini slides, blah, 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 other quick hints. And this is super long, and it's just not written like I like to post. Compare that with the post that my tool made. It says, you don't need a specialist app to create presentations with AI anymore. And then it compares Gemini and Claude, and then says, okay, try this. It asks a question, what's your take on AI-built presentations? And then some hashtags, and it's in my tone of voice. The way that I did this was create a tone of voice document. Basically, I pasted in a bunch of old LinkedIn posts, a bunch of old emails, some creative writing that I'd done, and I got it to analyze what was common in the way that I wrote and the kind of phrasing that I use, the kind of punctuation that I use, the level of language that I like to speak in and stuff like that. And it came up with this guide. It's got generic structures for different types of content, LinkedIn posts in particular, a bunch of do's and don'ts, the kind of preferred language that I like, and not like hypey language like game changer and unleash your potential and crap like that. So once you've created that document, you can plug that into your vibe coding tool, and then it will have a sense of how it should write. Okay, so that got me like 80% of the way there, but I found that it was still making mistakes. So what I did was enter in like a basically self-correction step. And that's what you see right here. You see a little message saying, okay, we cleaned up the M dashes, because I basically told it, look, you need to stop doing this, you need to stop doing that. And so what it's basically doing is after it writes it, it checks its own writing and then fixes the mistakes. Now, you might be wondering how I made the UI, like how I got it with this kind of look and feel. It's very simple, it's very minimalist, and it doesn't have all the fluoro stuff that a lot of vibe coding platforms traditionally spit out. So what I did was in Gemini, I just described the kind of UI that I wanted, and it came up with this. And then I fed that image into GPT Codex and said, just recreate what this looks like. I didn't want it being quite so light like that. So I just told it to create a dark mode as well. And bam, there you go. For the last little bonus step, I wanted to add in creating an image that matched the posts. So it needed to match the information in the post, and it needed to be done in my brand style. So you can see in my company introduction, I have this kind of soft claymation style for images. And I basically fed ChatGPT this presentation, and then I asked it to say, look at the imagery in this PDF. Look at the graphics and tell me what you see. And then I went through and iterated and said, okay, give me a template for creating images in that style. And after a little bit of back and forth with ChatGPT, I got this reusable structure for generating on-brand images for any post. And it's broken it all down here. So I just copy-pasted that into GPT Codex and said, okay, this is how you need to create images. Initially, it wrote out the entire image prompt, And that was kind of taking up a lot of space, and it was a bit annoying. So what I decided to do was say, okay, keep that image prompt in the background. And if I need it, then I can just click copy. And then I can go over to Gemini, for example, and paste in that prompt, go create images, and then let it go. And then Gemini is going to create the image for me in the particular style. But just to keep everything simple, using the same OpenAI API, you can actually generate images. So I made a generate image button down the bottom here. I can click that, but then I have to pay. It is 8 whole cents per image using the API. But it's just nice to have it there in place. Or you can just do it in Nano Banana. This is not a wonderful image. I would probably use a different tool. For example, I would use a tool like OpenArt, where you have a little bit more control and you can choose like the output size, and you can generate multiple images. And you can see here some other images that I made and different versions of them. Okay, look, I know this might feel intimidating at first. I get it. You just need to learn a tiny little bit about how websites work and what things like APIs are. But if you just start trying, like just build one thing, one small thing, it gets easier every time. And then once you get the hang of it, you can make tools like this for yourself, or you can even sell them if you want to. If you need any help, just ask me. Remember the 3-step pattern: fetch, transform, output. That's kind of like your blueprint for any kind of content automation tool. Now, if you want me to share a tone of voice template or my image prompt structure that you can adapt for yourself, get in touch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.